All right, guys, good Sunday evening. Welcome aboard to our market recap for the week. We usually do it on Saturday or earlier in the week, but wanted to see how futures were opening this morning after we had the headlines of the Hamas attack on Israel. So again, it's always important to look at these headlines to be informed and how it affects the market. So we're going to go over a couple of things. We're going to go over the week. We're going to preview the next week in terms of the news. So if this is your first time here, this is how we do it. Let's go over first the market open, kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what's happening. So I'm bringing up here the S&P 500 futures, as I always do. Rather quickly, let's go over the futures side. Down 174 on the Dow, NASDAQ down 80, S&P down about 0.60, and the Russell down about 0.82%. This is more of a risk-off moment, obviously, when you have headlines of that kind of caliber, geopolitical headlines. Again, I've said it many times. These are hard things to predict. Very hard to predict. This is going to be a global war or something like that. We don't know. I don't want to sensationalize anything because that's not helpful, because I'm not really sure on what is going to happen in the future in terms of geopolitics. What I can tell you is here the market price action, what we're looking at. So just want to kind of give that a heads up, and don't want to be insensitive either to the destruction, what's happening overseas, but we do have a job to do. So the best thing that we can do right now is kind of explain things, put into context, and see what we can do moving forward. So there we go. We have the futures open this morning. This evening we have crude oil up 2.49%. I want to go ahead and take a look at that chart together. Gold futures up about 1.23% this evening. So again, you're starting to see if gold is pushing higher, usually that's where you get the risk off sentiment, right? Let's take a look at Forex land. Dollar yen, not too bad, down about 0.2, around about 21 pips, 149.07. Again, not seeing tons of fear in that end. Bitcoin not showing a ton of fear. So what exactly do we do with this info? Understand tomorrow is Columbus Day. I believe some banks are closed, but the bond market is closed. So we're not going to see anything regarding the 10-year yield. But again, we'll keep an eye on the equity markets as you are seeing here. So let's take a look at S&P 500. The 4309 Fibonacci level, if you guys have been with us in futures, you understand that's a big level to us. Let's see if we can get this loaded. Again, that's the 38.2 Fib line. That's pretty much in line with that trend line that we've had, that we broke down, tagged that. Well, it wouldn't even tag the 200-day. We're going to see if that holds. So right now we are pulling back. So let's go back to the hourly, give us a little bit of context. And so far, we're pretty much just holding up the 200 moving average on the hourly. That's what we broke above it right around 11 o'clock on Friday, as we had a short squeeze. So far, we're holding up that 4309 support. So really what we're looking for is 4368. Let's go to SPX spot. Again, this is not futures. Really what I'm looking for, guys, I'm looking for 4400. If we can get back to 4400, let's go to the daily. If we can get back to here, this gap fill 4,400, the bottom is more than likely in. That's what we're looking for, 4,400 on S&P spot. We're at 4308 as of Friday. Again, futures are open, but again, SPX spot is what we're looking for. And why 4,400? You got the gap fill right there. That's what we're looking for. And once we fill that gap, we're above the 20, we're above the 100, we're right below the 50, back within this channel here, which we have deviated before. See that we broke out of it. Sometimes we break below it. That's fine. As long as you hold that 200-day, that's what we're looking for. Let's see if we can actually get that bounce. Maybe the market absorbs this info. What I've noticed with this market is more of a, sell now, ask questions later. And that's fine. That's usually what happens when you have jitters out there. But looking at the market, generally speaking, let's go to ES. I mean, you're right at the 200. If this breaks, we'll keep you guys up to date. As of right now, I wouldn't be taking any positions on S&P futures or at all. At least not to the long side or short side right now, because now we have a gap to fill in the hourly. So the expectation is if we hold this support on NQ, NASDAQ futures, right around 15,000, let's see if we can get to around 1550. Maybe that gives us a chance to get 50 points on NASDAQ for that gap fill, possibly. A little bit of a scalp, but again, we're going to see what happens. We'll be ready for anything. So looking at crude oil, again, we know Middle East crude oil, rejecting that 85 level. Ooh, how important is that 85 level, guys? That retest of resistance. You're right now at the 50. Not a bad place to short if you're looking for 83.29. But again, you're beholden to headlines. So again, if you are looking to go, let's say, crude short on this news, again, retest that support that we sliced. It now becomes resistance. If that holds, you want to widen the stop a little bit. So again, I would probably look at a short at around 85, or at 84.92, and the stop, you put it at 86. Give you 100 points, and then you could target down to around 83 if that's the case. That's a 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. I'm going to keep an eye as we go. Futures members, me and Nick are at the desk. We're going to watch as we go. I'll be looking at the markets while I'm watching the Cowboys because Sunday Night Football, baby. That's how we do. So that's the market today. Again, I wish I had more information in regards to the geopolitical conflicts that are happening overseas. Obviously, want to be sensitive to all the people affected. Obviously, I just don't like the fact that we're talking about markets and money when we're obviously having a humanitarian crisis overseas with war. War, nobody wins, as we know. So we're here to do our job. We're here to explain things as we go. Getting a little bit more of a downtick here on S&P 500 futures, and we're breaking below the 200. Let's see if we hold 4,300. Not much to do right now. Personally, I'm going to be watching as we go. Don't have any futures position open over the weekend, but this is the risk. Always the risk of holding things over the weekend. So with that being said, let's pivot to the week that we just had. If I can get this going. Let's see if I can get my Excel going. Let's see if I can get this. Trying to get my recent stuff here. Bear with me a second. I should have got this set up. There's a Discord. My apologies. And we're going to go to signals. This one. There we go. Got to track everything. That's the key. So bear with me while we get that loaded up on the computer. Keep an eye, 232 right now on the Dow. That's down. Russell's down about 1.14%. Energy's up. Gold is up. Silver is up. You can see the dollar pulling back a little bit. It gapped up, but not tons of room there. So trying to see if I can get this open. Here we go. GAR signals. All right, so here we are for the week. Tough one, and the real reason it was tough, and I'm going to go over it together. So let's go ahead and move this to the side, and we're going to track each one together. So let's start with IWM. And we're going to go to the 30-minute chart. This gives us 10 days. We got in on the 28th of September. Got the break that we wanted. We're looking for the gap fill. Literally the next day, that Friday, mind you, not the Friday that just passed, the Friday before, we got to 179.40. So keep in mind, if you look here on the hourly chart, we actually had a gap to fill 179.82. Look how close we were. Mind you, that was the 28th of September. Back to the 30-minute chart. So we guys have the date. So the 29th of September, we see that we're right there. So what do? You're 30%. Do you take it over the weekend? See what we get, right? That's what we did. And what happened? We fell. We fell and it got crushed. That's your loss there. The next one, and again, this is going to be important because I really want to explain that. So again, holding over the weekend, right? We were 30%. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. We got in on the 2nd of October. Got the break that we wanted. We pulled back. And then we broke out just like we expected on Friday, but not that day. We had the 470 calls. This completely rinsed us out. Just sucks at timing. That was the 470 calls. Let's take a look at Bank of America. Bank of America we filled on the 3rd of October. 3rd of October, the 26 puts. This one was hit as high as 144%. We got in on the 3rd right here. Continued to flush on the 4th. And then the 5th continued. So well done. We had the 26 puts, and those were out of the money on Friday, thankfully, if anyone didn't get exercised. 41% got as high as 144%. Well done. Going by pretty quickly. Tesla, beautiful bounce off the 200. Off this line here around 250. We're waiting for that break of 250. We got it, and we played it. We got as high, with the 260 calls, got as high as 173%. And it got as high as 263.60. Yep, we got in on the 6th. Yep, right here is what we played. The 6th, all the way up 40%. That's how you do it, up to 173%. Now this is where it gets tough. We talked about when you're at 30%, right? 30% profit, do you hold over the weekend? We're gonna go over that, right? Here's Google. This one is tough because I actually closed this early with the team and I regret it. Why? We had the breakdown. We were looking for the 1 hour 200 MA as our support. This was on Wednesday. So we filled it on the 6th. 6th, I believe, was it the 6th? No, that wasn't the 6th. Excuse me. The 4th. I just want to make sure I got that. That's Friday. Saturday was the 7th. 6, 5, 4. Wednesday. It doesn't say the dates. It just says the actual days itself. So we played that move higher. We were looking great. And then into Thursday, we got that pullback. A disgusting one, an ugly one. So you got to make a decision. Take a look at the daily. Mind you, when we actually got in. This was the candle that got us out, the 5th. We broke below the 20, and I'm thinking to ourselves, we're just going to get back to this pattern here. We're just going to burn premium because of the Friday expiry. So again, you just want to get out, try to salvage what you can, because it was looking bad. It was down about 82%. Usually we hold it, but again, the point was that I didn't want you guys to get hit again like Nvidia and Russell did, where it just got completely reversed. And what happens, guys, on Friday? We soar, and we did not soar initially. Mind you, that NFP day was not exactly an initial soar job. It was ugly until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, and then we started bouncing, and we soared. So we got the analysis right, but we got reversed on. Same song, same dance. It's just a tough tape. So we know where we're going. We were deep in the money. It's just the time, and we got chopped up. It's so unfortunate. We got into Google again, calls for this week. Got as high as 25%. Apple calls got as high as 25%. We're going to see how we open on Monday. Remember, bond market is closed. We'll see if there's any kind of volume drainage or not tons of volume out there. But we did hit 25% on both, and I didn't close. Kind of like IWM for last week, right? Could be. Here's the things that I weigh out both ways. Either we close early or we close late. I mean, it's one of those, do you hold for the analysis or do you want to play risk management? I tried to do the risk management for you guys, tried it, didn't work. So the idea is to stick to the analysis, guys. Let this be a lesson. Yes, stocks reverse. Stick to the analysis. So before anyone asks me on Monday or Tuesday, let's see what Google does and Apple does with the open. Very, very tough. I'm still open on these two. We'll see what we get as we open on Monday. But not the best week. 2 out of 5. Should have been 3 out of 5 with Google. But Nvidia, Russell was as high as 30 on Friday. Nvidia reversed on us. No excuses. It's just, we just have to make sure that we catch these things. But if we close early, it soars. If we close late, it stays down. It's back and forth, guys. You can't have it both ways, unfortunately. But all we can do is the best we can to make sure we get out of this little slump of this choppiness. And if we do well with that, which we have over time, we'll get back to what we've been doing best, which is consistency over time with good risk management. So hit 25% on both an Apple and Google. If you took it, great. You could see 25, 26 for next week expiry. I told everyone at 340. Remember last week we had IWM calls at 30%, reverse on Monday. You want to take some profits here, leave a runner, whatever you prefer, go into the weekend, clean slate, go for it. Do you stick with the analysis with any risk out there, or do you take your profits or you take the trade ahead of time like we did with Google? Yes, one was a loss, one was a win. But again, you're balancing every day. That's the hard part. You kind of have to balance that risk management with, just going for it, that resolve. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do, especially in a tough tape. Now we're seeing the market starting to bounce a little bit. You can see crude starting to bounce. We're back above that fib line or right near it. Just going to have to wait this out, guys. Let's see what we get. Remember, we were red pre-market on Friday. NFP came. We were red, and then we soared right away. Short squeezes happen. Let's let this futures tape develop, and then let's see what we can get from there. I would love to get Google and Apple right after rip, but right now with NASDAQ looking where it is, not too terrible. As long as we hold above 15,000, I think we're going to be okay on both. Let's give it some time like we should have on Google, or you took it early like we should have with IWM. So many moving parts, guys. Let's take a look at Forex Factory this week. We have PPI, Producer Price Index, on Wednesday at 8:30. We have FOMC meeting minutes at 2 on Wednesday. Thursday, we have consumer price index, that's CPI. Thursday in the morning, so again, more inflation data, so we know what the Fed's next move is. Let's see what happens. And preliminary University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers. Again, just a survey. That'll be on Friday. Remember, Monday, bond market's closed. So you're not going to get a quote on the 10-year or 30-year treasury yields or anything like that. Okay, so another thing I want to go over rather quickly is here on the earnings calendar. Yes, we have earnings coming. On the 12th, it starts with the Delta Airlines. And then on Friday, we have Citibank, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Progressive, JP Morgan Chase, and what is that word right there? United Healthcare Group on Friday. So earnings is back. How exciting. We're going to get more volume. Let's see what we get as we go. Let's go ahead and chart these names that are going to report. Let's go to Dallas, Delta Airlines. What's on my mind? The Cowboys, right? Right here near the 200 MA, very similar to the S&P 500. Anything special about this here on Delta? We got a gap to fill at 40.54. If you get above 39, yes, I would go ahead and play the 40 calls to fill that gap. That's the only thing I'm looking at. If you're looking at downside action, there isn't any gaps to fill below, but you're below the 200-day, and you know the saying, nothing good happens below the 200-day. So if we break down below here, 35.09, which is the recent lows, we can take a look at 34 to 34.48. Even more for a swing, just depends. 32.02. Again, let's see what DAL, Delta Airlines, has for us. JP Morgan Chase, right off the 200-day, very similar to the S&P 500 futures. Right here below the 200-day, we want to get above 146.84. If that does break, we want to play the 50-day moving average to around 149 or 148 calls. And if we break down a little more, we want to break below what? The 200-day moving average, 141.22. We have a gap to fill here at 139.22, and even more below. Things get really, really wild. We're taking a look at possibly 129.06. In terms of kind of predicting the moves in terms of earnings, again, I don't have any of their information. It's not publicly known as of yet, so we just have to play the technicals as we go. Take a look at Citibank. Been beaten down on the daily as well. What can we do? Well, really not much until we get above some key levels. Let's see if we can get above $42 a share. If we do break $42 a share, we do have a gap to fill here at 44. So we're going to go ahead and place that level there. We'll do a couple of drawings to give us exactly the gaps to watch for. There's one and there's two. If we get a bounce, because this one is beaten down and you're still below the 20. So again, I want to get clear of that, get to 42, see if we can get to 44 if it's too beaten down. If not, downside action for Citi. Look at the weekly, it's not even there. Let's see if I can get to 20 here. Anything special here? Ooh, yeah, you're really breaking down now. You're probably looking at COVID lows of around $31. But again, you would need some really bad stuff happening because on the weekly chart, we're already breaking down. So there's not much you can do there except for looking for any kind of relief bounce. I think Wells Fargo is reporting as well. Very similar to Citi, not much action there. Not much gaps to fill or anything to do here. I'm going to skip that. I think JPM is probably a better trade there. Out of the other ones out there, the names really don't have much of options movement. UNH doesn't really trade much, and BlackRock either. So Delta, JP Morgan would be the ones that I'm watching for the week in terms of earnings reports. Let's see what we get. But we're going to start cooking. We're going to start getting there to earnings season. A lot of opportunities. The question is, does anything break or move our way? So we can see if we can make some money out of it. Still sitting on the 201 MA on the 1 hour. You could see the dollar kind of right below the 20 on the 1 hour. You could see crude oil is fighting that 85 level, that resistance used to be support. Let's see what we get moving forward. Again, headlines come in as we go. We'll let you guys know what's next. As always, tough week all around. I mean, last week was undefeated. This week was just tough. So it's back and forth, back and forth. We'll get out of it, guys. Done this for about 9 years now, like I said. October 15th is our 9-year anniversary of GAR Capital. What a better way to celebrate it by making this week undefeated, great, catching what we need to catch, being careful, and doing our job, doing the best of our abilities all around. Let's make some money. Let's do some great things this week. October, that's the key. October. We know that October tends to be weaker, and seasonally speaking, we've talked about that over and over. Do we get one more fall of capitulation with these headlines? Possibly. But my thing is this, and I'm going to leave the video with one simple prediction. Let's say prediction. If we hold the 200-day, 42.33, and we get above 4,400, the bottom is in. Pretty easy to say. But really the max support to me is 41.55. We could get one more drop because seasonally speaking, that is expected. The question is, when? Is this going to be that day? On Monday, do we get that ugly capitulation where we just sell off? That's definitely a possibility, and it actually fits the description. Mid-October, look here. We've been saying it. Do not be surprised. In my opinion, when it comes to headlines, it becomes the spin the wheel narrative. We start justifying stock moves based on headlines instead of headlines based on stock moves. You know, it's back and forth, back and forth. So, you know, pick your excuse, pick any reason why, whether it's yield jitters or inflation. Again, seasonally speaking, mid-October, we get that fall. Maybe this is it. Maybe we get back to retest 42.35. If the buyers defend that and we can hold it, the longer we're above the 200-day, the more likely that is a bottom for 2023. Why do I say that? Because we get a bounce towards the end of the year. Always, seasonally speaking, happens at that time. So we'll go ahead and leave it there, guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll keep you up to date as always. Go Cowboys. Let's see if we make it a Victory Monday tomorrow in the morning. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next morning note, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and like these videos if you do. Thank you again for taking the time. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.